Welcome to this video tutorial introducing Latin verbs. The vast majority of verbs, which are called finite verbs, have five fundamental characteristics: person, number, tense, mood, and voice. In just a few moments, each aspect will be briefly surveyed and an example will follow to illustrate how to determine each of the five elements of this type of word. Verbs possess an identifier to indicate from the speaker's perspective who performs or receives the action of the verb. We call this the verb's person. Moreover, verbs communicate how many subjects, or either one or more, perform or are affected by the action. This label is their number. In addition, verbs contain a timing indicator to determine when the action was performed. This is called its tense. Latin has 6 tenses, although we will initially limit ourselves to only the present tense. Furthermore, verbs possess one of 3 moods: an indicative, an imperative, or the subjunctive. When a verb is in the indicative mood, it plainly communicates the fact that the verb occurred. Additionally, the imperative mood causes verbs to command an action to be taken. Last yet not least, verbs in the subjunctive mood describe hypothetical or potential actions. For the foreseeable future, we will limit ourselves to only the indicative mood. Finally, verbs in Latin also communicate either what the subject does in a sentence or what happens to the subject. These functional descriptors are called the verb's voice. If the subject performs the action, the verb's voice is active. If the subject receives the effect of the action, the verb's voice is passive. For now, we will only deal with the active voice. To see these categorizations expressed tangibly, let's look at the finite verb amo. Amo is equivalent to the English phrase I love or I like. Usually, verbs point to a direct object, such as I like cats, which in Latin is katos amo. Now, let's see how these categorizations apply to the verb in focus amo. Since the subject is the speaker, the verb possesses a first person person. There's a more elegant way to express that idea. Due to the fact there is only one person speaking, amo has a singular designation. Usually these two elements are combined, and so we would say that amo is in the first person singular, for example. Now, due to the timing of the verb, which is occurring in the very moment of the act of speaking, it possesses a present tense. Because the verb is demonstrating or exerting an action, it is therefore in the indicative mood. Finally, the action of the verb is extending via the subject to a direct object, which demands that it possesses an active voice. In closing, we examined the 5 essential elements of common Latin verbs and used amo as an introductory example to see what its 5 characteristics were.